So for years, the storage system design in Minecraft hasn't really changed much, but with the introduction of the copper golem, there might now be a new way you'll want to start sorting your items. Well, maybe. Heyo, I'm Creato, and if robots haven't taken enough of our jobs yet, then the copper golem is here to make item sorting much easier, since it can take items from a chest and then place them into another chest. But to be more specific, they can only take items from copper chests and place them in a regular chest. Just keep this in mind, because it's pretty much the basics of how a copper golem works. Alright, so let's take a quick look at a sorting system design that exists today, because if you've ever built one, then you'll probably recognize this design, or at least something similar. The items come in through the top and then get aligned in the water so that they get pushed through the water while still going above the hoppers, which then puts them into the chest they belong in. And it sounds like a lot, but it's really not, since the items go through the water really fast and get sorted out in seconds. That's why this design has remained as one of the most useful redstone contraptions you could build. But even this system isn't entirely perfect, since it uses a lot of hoppers and redstone, which means you'll need to gather lots of materials first, which can start to get a bit expensive for larger storage systems. And not to mention that these types of storage systems are also very delicate, which I guess is true of all redstone builds, but especially sorting systems, since if even one hopper or redstone torch is misplaced, then the items will end up going nowhere and then start backing up. Plus the fact that these types of storage systems depend on item filters, which are just renamed items that only allow the right item to go in each chest. But if the item filter item were to get into the system, yeah, then it would start to mess things up, which would be a pain to try and fix, because you'll have to go through the entire system to try and figure out where it went wrong, all while trying to stop the items from spilling out even more. But even with these drawbacks, we all still build sorting systems because, well, there just hasn't been any other way to sort your items. That is until the copper golem was added, because all you need to do to summon a copper golem is place down a copper block with a carved pumpkin, and you've just built the replacement for your storage system. Okay, no, but really, because all you gotta do is give these little guys full access to all your items, and they'll perfectly sort through everything without any issues. And I mean, just look at this. The copper golem just got here, and it's already doing what the storage systems have been doing for years. Because all you gotta do is build a really nice home for the copper golems, and it will be free to work at full efficiency without any distractions. And tell me how I can be this productive, because I need to know. But when you compare a copper golem sorting system to a traditional sorting system, yeah, they both do the same things, but there's still enough differences to set them apart. And also keep in mind that this is just a really basic copper golem storage system, since this is as simple as it gets, because it doesn't use any redstone at all and relies completely on the brain power of the copper golem. And I think when it comes to choosing a storage system design, there's three main things you want: a design that's easy to build, can sort through items really fast, and most importantly, something that actually works reliably, right? Well, let's look at how easy a traditional storage system is to build compared to a copper golem storage system. And I think just looking at them, you can tell which one is easier to build, because one design needs a bunch of iron and redstone and whatnot to build, and the other design just needs some chests and a little copper guy, plus glass blocks to let him see freedom but not have it. But you get what I'm saying? Because unless you already have a traditional item sorting system, then why bother gathering all the materials to make it when a copper golem sorting system needs less to build? Especially since you can get a copper golem storage system up and running with no redstone knowledge at all, since a copper golem doesn't even need any redstone to work, because all the sorting is done by the copper golem itself, which will save you the time and effort of getting the materials in the first place, and also trying to figure out how to get a sorting system to work, because one of the main reasons you would probably not want to make a traditional sorting system would be because it takes way more resources as well as time to build, since it's usually larger. But that is no issue at all for the copper golem, since not only is it faster and easier to make, but it also takes up less space, which is good for places where there might not be enough space to build up a giant sorting system. This just makes a copper golem based storage system seem like the better option, especially when you're just trying to get something up and running without much effort required. Oh, but there's more to a storage system than just building it. And tell me, who would win? A little stream of water pushing items around, or a golem built from copper from the deepest of mines? Because one thing the copper golem will never have is speed. Sorry, guy. Which means that if you already have a normal storage system already made, then you don't really need to do anything about it, since you already have it set up, and it'll still be faster than a copper golem, which even now is still one of, and honestly, the main advantage for choosing a normal storage system over a new copper golem storage system. Because if you're someone who wants your items to get sorted out really fast so it can just be over already, then a traditional storage system will be the best option for you. So just in case you were second guessing that storage system you already built, don't worry about it, since a traditional storage system is just so much faster with all the items getting pushed around and pulled into the hoppers. Meanwhile, the copper golem is still looking through chests trying to figure out where the items go, which is honestly me in most situations. And trust me, he's really doing his best, but it's still just one copper golem doing all the sorting. And in case you thought about it, trying to put more than one copper golem inside a storage system doesn't really work, because then they start pushing each other around and getting in the way of the chests. But yeah, copper golems might not be as fast at sorting than a giant storage system, but remember, they're still easier to set up than a bulk of redstone and hoppers. And don't forget about reliability, because even though the copper golem is not the fastest, it still gets the job done, which is true of all sorting systems, assuming they work, of course. But you also need to consider the other factors for a storage system, like materials and the time it takes to actually build it. And I know, once you already have a storage system all built up, then it won't really matter how long it took, just as long as it works, right? Well, yeah, I guess. until you realize there's one big difference between these two types of storage systems, other than the fact that one has a living soul in it. Because copper golems are also able to pick up unstackable items, which means a copper golem-based storage system can sort through items like tools and armor, which is something that's just not at all possible with a traditional storage system. And that's a pretty huge deal, since there's probably a good amount of items in your storage that don't stack and then get all jammed up. And copper golems fix exactly this, which is a big advantage for copper golem-based storage systems, since it makes sorting unstackable items much easier, since usually you would have needed a more complicated storage system which takes longer to build and uses more materials as well. But with a copper golem, it's as easy as just placing down some chests and letting the copper golem do its thing. Though just keep in mind that a copper golem can only move one unstackable item at a time, which just means that if there's lots of unstackable items in the chest, then it'll take some extra time for the little guy to sort them all out, which is really not an issue unless you care about sorting speed a lot, which I assume isn't the biggest deal if you're using a copper golem storage system. But hear this, it gets even better for our new copper friend, since a copper golem is able to look through all the items in a chest. This means that you can fill up a chest with different items, and the copper golem will sort them all out for you. Think of it this way, you can have one chest full of different ores and another full of food items, and the copper golem will put them all where they belong. This means you can organize your chests into multiple categories of blocks, so that the copper golem is able to group similar items together based on how you organize them, which really just simplifies things a lot. Since yeah, multi-item storage systems are possible with the traditional storage system, but they're even more complicated and expensive to build, and not to mention way more prone to breaking. And since the copper golem doesn't need any of that redstone funny business to work, there really isn't anything that can go wrong. Well, just make sure to wax the copper golem with honeycomb before you forget, or else it'll eventually turn into a statue, because of the whole copper oxidization thing, remember? But once the copper golem has been waxed, it'll be good to go, and won't have any other issues with item sorting. And the best part is that it's also very easy to change the way the copper golem sorts the items, since all you need to do is just rearrange the items in the chests, and the copper golem will start following the new way the items are organized. This makes a copper golem storage system way more adjustable compared to a normal storage system, since you don't need to go into any hopper filters and just instead simply add or remove items from a chest as you continue to grow your storage system. Plus, the copper golem is able to work all the time without having to stop for anything. Couldn't be me. With the only exception being that it won't try and open a chest that you currently have open. This is just another way the copper golem makes sure all the items stay in order, so that you can confidently rely on the copper golem to sort everything out for you the exact way you want, which ultimately means that a copper golem based storage system is easier to build, takes less resources, and can handle unstackable items as well as multiple items in a single chest. So knowing this, it really doesn't make sense to ever build a traditional storage system ever again. And no, I'm not saying to tear down your existing storage system either, since they are actually completely unaffected by copper golems, and will keep on working as they always have. But it does mean you need to think about what's most important to you in a storage system. Do you even keep lots of unstackable items around that it's worth building a copper golem storage system? Or do you just have tons, and I mean tons of items that you need to get sorted out in the least amount of time? Because honestly, both storage systems have their ups and downs, so it's really up to you which type of storage system is better for what you need. That's a wrap for today. Don't forget to leave a like and hit subscribe, and also comment Golem Revolution if you made it this far. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.